Let's record this meeting. Hopefully a train doesn't go by while.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh God, how do I share my screen? The big share screen button, that'll do it. Alrighty, I guess we can get started. It's 6 o'clock. Hello everyone. Welcome to week 14 of the fall semester. How is everyone doing? We are so close to the end. But at the same time, it feels like just miles away. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely have a lot of stuff left to do between now and finals. It's going to be tough because we only have 2 weeks, but hopefully we can all get through it. What's up?
Serious question. So we're getting close to finals week, right?
It's literally that.
It's next, okay. Am I the only one who feels like we're a bit exaggerating on how hard it is? Like I've just done.
This semester is easier for me personally, but last semester.
Are you asking if finals week itself is difficult?
Yeah, because I have people who've done finals week tell me all the time. Finals week is hell. Like you'll want to die.
Are you a freshman?
Yes.
Okay, did you ever take finals in high school?
Huh?
Did you ever take finals in high school?
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
was
like that, like 10 times. Yeah, no, it's, once you do it like a sophomore, especially junior or senior, it just depends on the class you take. Generally, it's terrible.
I've already done 3 essays.
Which is good, but also, it's, just wait, enjoy it while it lasts.
What I will say about finals week is a lot, like obviously it's the meme, or it's in the college student cultural zeitgeist to absolutely despise finals week, and it's true, it is very stressful. What I will say is, as long as you manage your time correctly, it is manageable, and that's always the case.
It's manageable, but it's heavily dependent on your course load and your professor.
Yes.
And I will say, some easy classes, like Psych 101 or whatever it's called here, intro, it can be super easy or super annoying and hard, depending on who your professor is. So it's very dependent, and also what your major is. So you'll have those moments because you're other major.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun later, because it's gonna be hard.
Something else to
Still
consider.
enjoy it.
Yeah, no, something else to consider is that sometimes, especially when you get into upper division courses, is that sometimes you're not going to have finals at all, but you will instead have final projects, which are in place of the finals. So depending on how you work and depending on how you view doing projects, it could be easier or worse than having a fully loaded finals week. The big thing that you're going to run into is that some classes have both. They will make you do a final project and then also do a final exam that finals week. And that's the big part. Yes, Dr. Choi loves doing that. If you do GIS, Dr. Deng does that as well. It's very frustrating. But yeah, that's something that you want to keep in mind. But yeah, definitely the big thing, make sure you know when your finals are and then know how to study for your finals, know which ones you don't need to study for and which ones you do. And it doesn't have to be that bad. But yeah, I hope you all feel prepared. You guys have a little bit of time though. I wanted to start off this meeting just with a little bit of a discussion of local weather, just to kind of see what's going on here. I do like what's going on with the forecast discussion today. If you've read the forecast discussion for DVN in the morning, it's actually quite different from what it's saying now. And so I do kind of want to go over that a little bit. The first thing to note is that overnight last night, we got kind of affected by an Alberta Clipper as it kind of went to our north. If it were colder, it probably would have snowed, but it didn't. The rain was done by the time probably any of us got up, but I know my girlfriend who got up at 4 a.m. She had to drive to work in a little bit of rain. So that's what that happened. But obviously the big story right now is that it is very warm, very unseasonably warm compared to the climatological average. The reason for that is if we look at surface winds here, what you'll see is this model run is from this morning. And what you'll see is, of course, we're having some pretty good flow from the south to southwest. And of course, what that's going to do is it's going to bring warmer air from the south up into our region. What's really cool about this is obviously that we're having very unseasonably high temperatures. I got up to 55 today in Macomb, which is very nice.
Wasn't it like 60 yesterday?
Yeah, it was.
So it's supposed to be 60 tomorrow and Saturday. Yay!
Yes, that's the big thing. What I will say is if we go back, one of the things that the previous forecast discussion mentioned is that a lot of the models, because they're used to being in a more winter-like pattern at this time of year, they're actually underdoing the forecasted high temperatures quite a bit. They actually say for their official forecast, they're actually putting in forecast highs that are in the 75th percentile of of what the models are outputting. And the reason for that is because they are just undershooting so much on the high temperatures. And so to kind of demonstrate that, if we look, this is the Tuesday 18Z model run for the NAM, just as an example. I got Macomb like pretty well, although it's still kind of undershoot. Oh wait, this is Macomb right here. They did still kind of undershoot, but like over here in Davenport, for example, they forecasted a high of 49 degrees. Actually, it might have been a bit, I think they might have actually forecasted officially 50, it might have been in between these time steps, but regardless, it forecasted that. But if we actually look at the weather history for Davenport today, it got as high as 55 today. And so that's kind of something that you need to consider. This is one of the more upper level things that I remember Dr. Bucher teaching us when he was trying to teach us about weather challenges, that models are made to work differently when they expect different, I guess for lack of a better term, like when the season changes, they're made to forecast differently because of different weather patterns. And so when the current weather patterns don't necessarily match up with the framework that the model is working under, it's going to probably not be as accurate as it would be in a different season. And so that's something you want to keep in mind when you're forecasting in general. And that's just kind of a cool thing to look out for. As we head into tomorrow, oh, this is the other thing that I wanted to tell you guys. I was telling you about how they were forecasting highs and stuff. It's going to be very warm tomorrow as well. And in fact, something that this morning's forecast discussion really made clear is that obviously that they want to forecast for the higher temperatures because the models have been underdoing it. But something that stood out to me is that they say, I don't know, where do they say it? Yeah, they list a couple of stations in Iowa that are explicitly forecasted to break their record high temperatures for December 2nd. And then they go on to say, the person who wrote this forecast doesn't say, I think record highs at all the sites are possible, which is really interesting. It's really cool that they are able to directly state that to us. But what's interesting is that when they put out the afternoon forecast discussion, they backtracked really hard on that. It turned out that it didn't actually get quite as high today as they were expecting, especially in certain parts of the CWA. And so what you'll see is as you look at the discussion for tomorrow, they do directly backtrack on that statement. They say, where do they say it? Yeah, they describe the conditions heading into tomorrow, and they say these conditions don't seem record high producing, and several latest high temp guidance runs have come in cooler for Thursday. They then go on to say towards the bottom, let's see here. Yeah, they are concerned with promising temps too high and will let them beat them on the warm side if they can. So what that's basically telling us is that whoever wrote the morning forecast may have been a little too eager to talk about the record-breaking high temperatures, and so they kind of backtrack on that a little bit. But even still, it is still going to be warm tomorrow. What's going to happen is the flow as we head. Oh, no, I don't want that. Come on now. I hate pivotal weather. You can click on one thing and it just goes completely psycho. But yeah, what's going to happen as we go into Thursday, which is tomorrow, the flow is going to the lower level flow is going to shift from southwest to more northwest, and that would normally be associated with lower temperatures, obviously, because it's coming from the north rather than the south. But what's actually happening here is that these winds are actually streaming downslope flow from the mountains to the west straight into our region. And so it's actually still going to be pretty warm. And so that's what's going to be causing the unseasonably high temperatures, even though it's not necessarily coming directly from the south. And so that's something that's pretty cool.
But yeah, I was looking at, when I was forecasting, like Dr. Fincher's making us fill out like this synoptic sheets. And we're looking at weather.rap.u card. There's it was like next to Idaho, like the tip of Idaho, Idaho and Montana, like right here, and it was a low that has a warm front and a cold front, right? Like this. If that makes sense. And so like I feel that's what like is gonna make the cold weather go through and that warm one just be like warm. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, I think I understand what you're trying to say. But yeah, definitely it's definitely going to be warm for at least the rest of the week, which is going to be very nice for people who like warmer fall-like weather. Yes. This northwest flow is basically going to be continuous through Friday, and so that's why if you look at the 7-day forecast here, we're going to have really nice temperatures. We are forecasting for 63 tomorrow, 57 again on Friday. So it's going to be very nice. I hope you guys are able to enjoy that weather the best you guys can. We can then switch over to the longer term GFS model to try and show what's going to be happening beyond. Oh, you have a question?
This is just sort of a blind question. Every single time I've learned about seasons in elementary school, they say like, oh, winter starts in late November and it goes on in December. But I've lived in Illinois all my life, and you never get like a single inch of winter weather or snow or anything until at least like halfway through January. Why do we get everything happening so late here?
Well, that's a good question. I don't actually know. Obviously, it's since we live in the American Midwest, we have more dynamic, or I guess, less predictable longer term weather patterns than I guess other portions of the world. I know, for example, when I took French class in high school, they teach seasons completely differently. They have winter as January, February, March, and they just have that as a 3-month block. Obviously, I don't actually, what actually defines the start of winter?
They just
Scientific.
honestly, I call it trees. If all the leaves are dead, it's winter.
Because there's a specific date that actually is the start of winter, right? I don't actually know what it is this year.
It's the 21st.
Yeah, and I think that's the
Solstice.
that's the solstice, right? And so that's how they define winter, at least in America. But that's not necessarily, obviously, that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the weather. Intuitively you will say, oh well, it's the shortest day of the year, so it'll be the coldest. But like that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the weather that day. And so
It's the same thing in Arizona. It's
Well,
still.
I don't think weather really has to do with seasons. Taylorville had tornadoes in December last year, and that's
Yeah.
winter.
yeah, you're exactly right. And so it would be better if you were to base your definition of seasons based on climatological averages, and they kind of do that to a certain extent. But it is one of those things like, yeah, like obviously you can say winter starts December 21st all you want, but that doesn't mean it's going to be cold on December
We
21st.
were down in St. Louis, we were flooded for Christmas one year.
Mhm.
Like just water, not even snow.
I remember that year.
Yeah, it was awful.
And of course, there was also the year, I think 2 years ago, where we had like 1.5 inches of snow on October 31st.
Yeah.
Back in like 2019,
I think so.
yeah, that it was freezing cold in October, and then December, it was like upper 60s for Christmas.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
I remember that.
I remember when I think it was 2017 for Halloween, I went and it sleeted the whole time I was trick or treat.
Yeah.
It's the hardest beating I've ever put my costume through.
Yeah. So I guess that's a good illustration of the fact that weather and climate is not the same thing. And you can talk about climatological averages all you want. It doesn't change the fact that you could break a record high any given time, depending on the weather conditions. And so that's why we're talking about potentially record-breaking highs tomorrow in certain locations.
We don't really follow all season stuff in Arizona. It's just whenever it's.
That's fair.
you just get a flood in,
It's like, it's like every year. It's monsoon season.
Monsoon season.
But we haven't had monsoon season like the past few years until this year, and then it's always.
It serves you for living in a place goddamn Washington better.
Okay, but people think there's no soul desert. Literally, like half the state is not state. The other half is forest and other biomes.
Yeah,
Stop.
cool.
False propaganda.
Yeah.
At some point, some man walked into the land that is now Arizona, felt himself spontaneously dying and said, you know what, I want to make a town here. And that's what Arizona was born.
Actually, no. And all the money is what bought people west.
Yes.
Sorry, Ian.
No, you're all good. So, something else to consider is that Arizona is such a big state, like by area, that it includes, obviously the desert Southwest, but also, just the mountainous portions of the north. And they're obviously gonna have a lot different weather. But yeah, we can switch over to the longer term models to try and see what's going on beyond Friday. What we'll see is heading into Saturday, we have a very weak, system coming in here. This low pressure marker is actually going to disappear as we progress into this model run, but you can still see the swirling of where that low pressure center is. And what you'll see is that as it heads in through Saturday, you can kind of see it in here, going this way. What it's going to do is it's going to shift the wind more north as opposed to northwest. And so what that's going to mean is that it's going to be a bit cooler on Saturday than it would be on Friday. And you can see that in the forecast here. High of 57 on Friday, whereas a high of 43 on Friday for here in Macomb. So that's something to keep in mind. That is going to be setting up for an action-packed week next week. As we head into Sunday, what we'll see, this is through Friday, we'll be under the influence of high pressure system. So it'll be clear Saturday, although a little bit cooler. And then as we head into Sunday, what's going to happen is another Alberta Clipper is going to be influencing our region. An Alberta Clipper. It is.
It's from like Alberta, Canada.
Yes, it is a mid-latitude cyclone. This is something you'll learn at
Natural
some point, at least in natural hazards when you take that. Basically, it's just a mid-latitude cyclone, but we name mid-latitude cyclones differently depending on where they happen, because oftentimes there's different tracks that mid-latitude cyclones follow. And so we name them based on those tracks. In fact, I can zoom out and kind of show you guys where you would find those. What you'll see is basically we name all the mid-latitude cyclones that affect us based on what they do after the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains are here. And so what'll happen is when we talk about an Alberta Clipper, what'll happen is the low will come in from the Pacific Northwest, and then it'll kind of dissipate over the mountains because that's just what they do. But then when it reforms over the Rocky Mountains, it'll probably start around Alberta, Canada, and then it'll just ride the Canadian border around, to the east. And so that's why we call it an Alberta Clipper. It rides that Canadian border, and it originates in Alberta, Canada. Usually we're only affected by the cold front of those, and that's what's going to be happening on Sunday, is we'll be affected by that cold front. We'll also see mid-latitude cyclones starting around Colorado, and then they'll come this way around, through the Midwest. What do we call those? Do you remember? Colorado lows. All right, it is that easy. We can describe those Colorado lows differently depending on what stage of mid-latitude cyclone it is when they reach us. It could be a mature mid-latitude cyclone with a warm front and a cold front really well defined, or it could be occluded and we have the occluded front and the weather there slightly different. Go ahead.
Does anything happen after they cross the Appalachians?
What'd you say?
Does anything happen to like those mid-latitude cyclones after they pass the Appalachian?
Actually, yes. The mid-latitude or the Appalachian Mountains, they don't necessarily impact the systems quite as much as the Rocky Mountains do because they're not as tall.
Yeah.
But they absolutely will, impede airflow because they are just a big mountain range. And so what you'll see oftentimes is with low pressures out there on the East Coast is you'll have the low pressure and you'll have like the warm front, and the cold front kind of like wraps around back up north. The reason for that is because the cold air can't get down from the mountains because it's blocking. And so that that's something to look out for. Is oftentimes you'll find ice storms there because of that warm, moist air coming in from the Atlantic Ocean, going over the warm front into what we call the trough, which is the trough of warm air aloft, and then it falls into that dry region because the cold air can't get down, and that's what causes the freezing rate. Mm-hmm. So that's something to keep in mind. And then the other thing that the other like common name that we give mid-latitude cyclones is they ride up the eastern coast. We call that a nor'easter. I'm sure you've heard of those before. So that's what we're talking about when we kind of talk about Alberta Clippers, that kind of thing. It's just the track of a mid-latitude cyclone. That's what that is.
Sounds like it's such like a southern term, like, yeah, it looks like an Alberta Clipper over there.
A little bit.
What are the nor'easters, or what are they? There's their actual name is something else, but everybody calls them nor'easters.
Yeah, I think I might be something like East Coast low.
Yeah,
Or something like
nor'easter
that.
sounds cool as hell. What else are you gonna call it?
It's a weird name, I don't remember.
I think they call it a nor'easter because
It's the direction the wind is coming.
the direction the wind is coming from when it snows.
Right, but the name is called something else, because remember, Dr. Lewis like all along from it.
You're absolutely right. I'm sure Anthony's probably trying to correct me right now because I don't actually remember what it is. But yes, that's what we're talking about when we talk about that. But yeah, going into Sunday, basically what's going to happen is we're going to be impacted by that low pressure to our north, that Alberta Clipper. We're going to be affected specifically by its cold front. However, it is going to actually shift our winds to the south again. And so it's actually going to be warmer on Sunday, despite earlier in the day, probably around the morning, we do have a chance for like a rain snow mix. It's probably not going to precipitate, but if it does, that's what it will be. And so you can see the hot forecasted high of 53 degrees tomorrow.
And then after it's gonna be like 30.
What?
It's gonna be like 30, 60.
Yes, so after that cold front passes, yes, it's going to be more winter-like conditions. It's going to be.
Hey, just in time for finals week.
Exactly. No, I think that Monday is forecasted to be 30 degrees.
No.
And it's actually going to be setting up a more active pattern into next week. If we go to upper air for a second, what you'll see.
Does McCollum only get a lot of snow?
It's actually a good question. I haven't lived here long enough to know that answer specifically. But like we get a decent amount of snow, like enough that we have to plow like multiple times a year, that kind of thing.
And then like.
That one year we got 17 inches.
There you go.
Ew. And like, in where my town is, they suck at salting the roads, so they would salt them and then it would snow and then they won't salt them again, then it'll snow and then it'll just be slick everywhere.
Yeah. In my experience, Macomb is pretty good with salting their roads and plowing.
Yeah, McComas with WIU sucked. If you have to park in Q lot, good luck.
That's true. I've had professors cancel class before in the winter because WIU just didn't like salting sidewalks, and it's like I literally cannot get to my building. So they just went
Was
home.
this in January?
Yes, this was last January. I had multiple classes in a row.
Oh, yeah, I remember that,
They do, they just don't do a good job.
Well, I was nice because we had like a snow there or whatever, but it was just because of the snow.
Oh yeah, that was another thing. If you guys remember that polar vortex day, we had a day off because it was literally too cold to allow people to walk to class.
It feels like every winter, there's at least one point in the winter where every single news cycle is suddenly, the polar vortex is coming or something like that. It's always in February too. I remember that one too, where like literally we had a snow day, even with no snow on the ground, because all the teachers were like, do not walk outside, like you will die.
I remember getting the alerts for that, I was like, oh, you guys have that home.
Yeah. No, the big thing is that's not even a polar vortex, that's a complete misnomer. It really is just cool Arctic air coming down into our region, but you know, polar vortex sounds, you know, cooler, I guess.
It's resulted from the polar vortex, but it's
I mean,
not.
yeah, that's true, but it is not directly the polar vortex.
Correct.
He says that when that thing happens, it's a result of what the polar vortex is doing, but it's not the polar vortex. The polar vortex is basically it's an upper air phenomenon above the poles. And when it destabilizes, it can spill cooler Arctic surface air into our region. That's what happened with the Texas winter weather outbreak last year.
That was awful.
That was hilarious when they like lost power and everything.
I wouldn't call it hilarious.
Well, that's their fault, like turning their own electricity. Why would they do that?
Yeah, I agree. I was definitely aware around that. But yes, that's exactly what that was. That was basically an identical phenomenon to what happened in 2018 when we had, or 2019, I guess, when we canceled that day of school because it was just super cold. But yeah, heading into Sunday, we'll definitely see a more active pattern begin to take shape because of this trough that develops into our region. It's a good one. And so a bit too far out to see like. Exactly.
Said, hey, screw Missouri. I hate that state.
I did too.
So definitely heading into next week, it's gonna be a lot colder. We can probably expect a lot of rain and snow depending on how the weather plays out.
They say rain. I went to the forecast, it said rain like Sunday, like Monday morning, and then like snows like a far off Tuesday.
I think that sounds about right.
Sometimes I don't even like forecast
No.
anymore because they'll like one day.
It gets
they're
like
I
Wednesday.
was like, oh, okay, but the Wednesday, they're like, oh, it's gonna be like 70 or whatever, and then the day comes, it's like 50. And I'm like, why would you bother? And like, it's not gonna rain or snow, and it's.
Well, to be clear, weather forecasting is really hard. I mean, you can even see, over the course of an afternoon, they went from all in on record high temperatures throughout the entire DVN CWA. And then by the next issuance of the discussion, they've completely, they've rewritten every single paragraph in this discussion, and they straight up backtrack on its.
Dr. Finch told me that after the Rockies, it's easier because you have more time to see the weather coming, and she said before, like, all that is really hard to tell the weather. But I feel like the weather was pretty stable in California there.
Yeah, it's always.
It's always the same.
And I have problems out here with temperature, so
Well, the reason she says that is because there's less observations out in the ocean. And so oftentimes you can't get a complete picture of the weather until it's already upon the shore. And so that's more of an issue like in the Pacific Northwest, like in Seattle, where you can't really prog that because you don't have any information out there. So that's kind of what she's getting at. But yeah, that's the discussion of weather that I wanted to do today. The only other thing that we really need to do today is nominations for Severe Weather Club elections. As you know, we're nearing the end of the semester, and so we need to do the elections again for Severe Weather Club chairs and board positions. Do I need to go over that again with you guys? Like what kind of, what boards positions are available? That kind of thing, their responsibilities?
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So to be clear, how the way elections work is this week we are going to be taking nominations for all positions. If you want to run for a position, you just say, I would like to run. And then after that, next week will be our final meeting. We'll vote on those positions. And then probably next week, it'll just be like a chill day where we'll just like play a game or something.
Jackbox, how about Jackbox?
Yes.
Guys?
Wait, do you have a position?
I'm currently treasurer.
Cool kid.
I'm gonna.
That's why you're rich.
Yeah, so if you want treasurer, I can help you.
Wait, what are you running for?
Well, it just depends on what other people do, because I'm like, I know, but we'll see.
Yeah, so to be clear, every position is open. That includes president. I imagine I probably will be president again next semester, basically because I know most of you guys haven't done that before, and so I wouldn't want to trust you guys into that position. No matter what happens, though, I would still be like helping to lead the club for at least the first few weeks, and then as the semester goes on, I'll transition that to the people below me so that they can help run the club once I'm gone, because I'm graduating next semester. But yeah,
Are you
president.
still gonna be in the Discord?
What?
You're still gonna be in the Discord after you leave?
Probably. Yeah, I'll probably just become an alumnus.
Yeah, I saw that.
There are like a week that's like a long every day.
Yeah, Anthony put the link in the Facebook alumni chat. And so I think that was one of Dr. Finch's visions with this Discord server was that the alumni would often have like really great discussions about weather and stuff, but like only the alumni see it. And she wanted the students to do that. So that's why there's so many alumni there. But yeah, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer are all open. Do you guys want like a brief rundown on like what the responsibilities would be for each position?
Yeah.
All right, so basically president, you run the meetings, you make sure that there's something to do every week. Basically, you often email people if like you need to reach out to them. Other chair positions could do that depending on like what it is. Vice president is basically you're the president's backup. If the president ever can't come, you need to do that. Whoever would be my vice president that next semester, if I do end up becoming president again, I would probably be shifting presidential roles to you over the course of the semester, just to make sure that you guys are prepared for that once I leave. Of course, once I leave, you guys can completely restructure the club if you wanted to be like, oh, we'll share responsibility between all the EGO positions. But as it stands, like the president is like the main person to make sure that everything is like sorted for all the meetings. The secretary, you basically take meeting minutes for each meeting, and then you write the weekly email.
Minutes means like you just go over what happened.
Yeah, just notes. And then the treasurer, obviously, you make sure that you collect any money that's paid toward the club, and you, I guess, deposit it when necessary. Being treasurer, well, especially these next semester, the only things we would be doing is t-shirts and a fundraiser. So very simple there. Secretary is also a really easy position. In addition to the e-board positions, we also have chair positions, which are not elected. If you just want a chair position, you just tell me, I'll give it to you. The chair positions are basically like mini versions of the e-board positions, where we have like an activities chair, for example, where you just look for activities that we might want to do and tell the club about it. We have an outreach chair, which if we ever wanted to do outreach next semester at like a school or something, you would be the one who would like reach out to them. And then we have the med ed chair, which I think Anthony and I are kind of like sharing.
He was like, that's
Yeah. So yeah, if you ever wanted one of those positions, you just gotta ask me. For example, if you run for something today and you don't end up getting it next week, I can just give you a chair position and it'll be just like that. But I guess we can start with the nominations. I guess we'll go down this order. First of all, I'll be taking nominations for president. Does anyone
And I
want?
just want to say real quick though, for any position, you can ask me, Ian, or Anthony for help. Like, it's not like you're all on your own.
Oh, absolutely no. We would be helping you as much as we need to, because obviously we want to make sure that.
Like, everything is like all up to, like, you have to be pressured like that.
Right.
If you feel your duties, we will get the guillotine.
Of course. But yeah, first I'll start taking nominations for president. Is anyone interested in running to be the president of Surrey Club? That's okay. I will nominate myself
I'm a freshman, what do you expect from me?
to be an overachiever, you go above and beyond. If you wanted to be president, I would not stop you. I would help you as much as you needed.
No, I wanna save president for like a later year.
Fair
I do
enough.
not wanna go past that.
That's fair enough.
No, like I feel like I didn't need to at least know what the hell I'm talking about and not bullshitting 90% of my day.
To be fair, I'm bullshitting this entire meeting.
You probably can talk on the better, I don't know.
I mean-
But it's a great opportunity to learn, and Dr. Finch is the advisor for this, she can help you with Anthony and Ian, like, hey, if I don't like you, like, I'm not sure what to talk about with this.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna learn to synoptic meteorology right now as a freshman. I'm gonna do it.
You're in what?
I'm gonna learn synoptic meteorology right now.
It's gonna help you. It's definitely for Dr. Finch's classes, it's gonna help you.
To give you a clue of how clueless we are. If you literally named something the Danny DeVito effect, we literally would not raise a question. We'd be like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about.
I don't know about that. No, I mean, to be clear, to be fair, I just prepared this discussion about weather in an hour before the meeting. I just read over the forecast and
Really,
stuff.
and half the time I was talking to him about shopping.
I mean, obviously it's not easy, but we would help you. The big thing being president is just making sure that there is something to do. I don't present every single week, I present some weeks, but not every week. But I make sure that there is something to do, that kind of thing. But again, if you're not comfortable with it, totally fine, I understand. You want to wait for Jen to come back?
No, she told me to nominate her first.
There you go. All right. Next, then we'll take nominations for vice president. There you go.
Yay!
Awesome. I love that. I love that.
Not really impressed.
No, that's fair enough. I totally get it.
Well, I mean, unless he's,
Let's-
then-
let's say, oh, no, you're right.
Like I said, as vice president, your main role is going to be to help me if I ever get sick like that last time. That's what Anthony did for me. Additionally, if there was ever I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, I would be probably towards the end of the semester, I'd probably be allowing you to lead meetings instead of me, just to kind of get that experience for the next time. But yeah, does anyone else want to nominate themselves for vice president?
Vice president right now.
Oh, no.
Okay. Next is secretary.
Yeah.
Fellow Americans, I'm announcing my run for secretary.
Your name is spelled in H, right?
No, really, like actually.
Your name is spelled in H?
Yeah, I have an H.
Gotcha, okay, just making sure I spelled it right.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to run for secretary? Okay, I'll put you down as well. What's your last name, Andy?
It's right there.
It's right there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Hey, thank you, Google.
Sorry, that was really funny.
Also, guys, to be clear, you can run for multiple positions if you would like. That's totally fine. If you want to better a chance that you get a
Unless
position.
there's like an artist, like honestly, I can't think of anything
They're
else
not
that we
kind
could.
of like webmasters, but they do like other stuff.
Yeah, I think the current webmaster chair is Brandon. He maintains the website.
Unless it's in Python, I'm clueless.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't, he said no.
Did he?
Yeah, cause I remember, they were asking him to run in spring, remember? But he didn't do it.
I don't remember that. He's maintaining the website right now, so.
Yeah, it's like.
Anthony, do you remember Brandon saying he's not doing webmaster? I thought he was still doing that.
Far as I know, he is.
That's what I figured, but
Okay.
yeah. All right, and then the last position would be treasurer. Does anyone, what?
What do they do again?
The treasurer, literally, they just take money whenever the club gets paid for anything. So the treasurer position will be really easy next semester. So all we're doing is a fundraiser and t-shirts probably. And so that would be that. Would you like to run? All right. And all right.
You want?
Not Chris Kelly.
First,
Someone I have to email sometimes. Good talk.
Wait, okay, if I'm not in an equal position, am I still, do I get demoted in Discord?
Yes. Is that what you're worried about?
That's the other thing I guess I didn't mention because it's kind of new. Basically, the Severe Weather Club officers, as of right now, are kind of like the unofficial admins of the Discord server. If we have the Severe Weather Club role in Discord, and so that gives us admin permission, so we can like make invites and stuff, and we can like make announcements in the announcement channel, that kind of thing.
Wait,
We can-
If
what?
there's, do people vote? Like, if there's two people?
Yes. So next week, what happens is for any position where there are multiple people running, we'll do like a little 5-minute speak, or not even 5 minutes. Why did I say 5 minutes? Like a 30-second speech
Yeah.
telling you why you should vote for me. And then
It's
we'll vote.
not a big deal. I
I'm
just
from
think
St. Louis.
So that was a misnomer. It would be like a 30-second speech.
I just did this for the diversity.
I'm just gonna send it in 30
It's not, that's a problem, don't do this. I don't know if it's my speeches. So, don't do that, but like, it's not.
Catherine, if I say I'm from St. Louis, will you vote for me and I'll vote for you?
What,
Do you have some-
Eugene?
No, it's called big votes.
Wow,
No,
we got some politicians in
Excuse me,
here.
do you have a constitution? Are we gonna have a political?
We
are we
actually-
gonna propose
hey.
to start the voting?
To be clear,
Oh, excuse me.
we do have a
I'm
constitution.
not progressive into angry statement.
We do have a constitution, and that's what establishes this voting process. So, yeah, it's a literal Word document on Purple Post that kind of outlines the club duties and stuff. We very rarely follow it, but this is one of the things we do follow.
Did you sign the document with a pen?
I'm not the one who made the document.
Okay, but was it signed with a pen? 'Cause it's a
Did you
Word
sign the Declaration of Independence or the US Constitution with a pen?
document. Yes, they did.
Did you, though?
That's
That's what I thought.
No, but a couple of slaveholders did.
Well,
Two different things.
all right, so is this good? Is everyone okay with the positions that they've ran for?
Can you run out one more time, just what like a chair person does?
Yeah, so the two chairs that you want to be concerned with next semester would be the activities chair, the outreach chair. They're basically self-explanatory. You'd be looking for either activities that the club might want to do or outreach opportunities. It's kind of hard to come by outreach opportunities, but we can always ask Dr. Finch this. We used to do a bunch in the past, so that would be that simple.
I mean,
What?
unrelated, if you have any experience in this position or if you want to jumpstart into one, I think outreach is a really good one, or depending on what you want to do, or like if you, like, for example, I'm going for outreach because it complements significant excellent, if any of you guys want to join it. Credits. Yeah, it has to be next semester, so it's basically the national person. With Dr. Bennett, yeah, we have 2 credits in the department, but, I'm already doing that in that, and then in my other thing, like, I'm diversity, equity, inclusion, and half that job is, like, it's just, they're all complementary. So it helps what I want to do with my year on career, so. So,
Yeah.
but they're great.
To be clear, something like outreach, I'm not gonna make you, like, we're not gonna make you like, make calls to all these schools, be like, hey, can we present in your thing? But like, what you would do is like, maybe if you ever hear the grapevine, or if Dr. Finch suggests something to you, you could pitch it to the club and be like, hey, would this be something we want to do? And if we do end up saying that we do want to speak at some sort of event or something, then I don't know, it would probably make sense for one of the Igor positions, like email them directly, because we have a little tag in our,
Like, probably secretary.
something like that.
But I can do that too, because I'm used to that, but like, I will say, for the chair positions, because I saw on the website, there's 2 positions open for each, or does each chair have like a committee? Because, so, when you're looking at the contacts page on Scribbler Club, there's 2 name slots for under the chair positions, does that mean there's 2 people that can be?
It's a little bit of a naming thing. What they mean by that is, when they refer to chair positions, Purple Post, what they mean is keyboard positions.
No,
So-
on our website, Sierra Club website.
Oh, I don't know about that.
When you contact, there's 2 name slots.
Probably president and outreach chair would probably be those 2 contacts then. That hasn't been updated in a while, I don't think. So that's why.
Okay.
So. Yeah, is everyone okay with this? Are you okay with all the positions that you ran for?
Worried about, I don't know, about neurology.
No, yeah,
Hey.
we'll figure it out.
I promise, it'll be fine. I know, I'm gonna be blunt with you guys. I know less than you think I do. I'm not good at this.
You took more classes than me, so I don't.
I know, I get it, and that'll come with experience.
That makes you smart.
That's true.
Serious
And that's, go ahead.
So I'm running for secretary, and if for some reason I don't want to go, like, someone doesn't take a bribe or something,
Sure,
like, can I take one of the chair positions if I fail that?
of course,
Okay,
of course. Yeah, that's what I kind of want to do. I want to make sure that,
Like, cast into the void.
I want to make sure that everyone who wants a role can have a role. And so that's what I will ensure. And for your concern,
Starbucks or something.
I'm never gonna make you do something that you can't do, you know?
Because like, we did that, I was like, interesting, I don't know if I can do that.
So I will say, we're looking for the chair positions as well.
No, chair positions traditionally aren't voted for. I mean, I guess if there's a conflict, two people do want it. Honestly, it might be easier just to share the role.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it was on the site.
Because the chair position, okay,
Usually people have, like, at least for the other stuff, like, people have committees for chair positions.
Yeah,
Committees, so-
I don't think our organization is big enough to.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, it makes sense to have multiple people for, like, some
Yeah.
chair stuff.
Now, to be clear, anyone who wants a role can have a role. And again, I would never make you guys do something that you can't do. And I would help you guys to make sure that you guys are knowledgeable for what you need to do. The big thing is that, you try and show up to most meetings, and that's 90% of the job. I know you guys have bingo to go to at 7, so I guess the last thing that I kind of wanted to ask you guys is there anything that you guys are in particular looking for out of club next semester? One thing that I know I do want to do is I want to have a couple of alumni speak. We have alumni in Discord, but sometimes it's hard for them to talk because they're one person in a group of 50, and so maybe giving them a platform to talk about something they want to do might be helpful for them and for us. Go ahead.
So we're talking spring semester, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I would love to just like around campus, maybe have like, think of like a photo contest or like a photo shoot or something about like weather rolling into campus and bam, you know?
Yeah,
stand
that's
for
so
the flow.
cool.
Very cool.
Like, hey, maybe we could even host like a little campus contest, that sort of thing.
That'd be cool. Yeah, there's nothing stopping us from doing it. Did you have a question?
Oh, wait, yeah, where's Dr. Finch at? She hasn't been here for long.
She's upstairs in her office. She's just really busy. That's the only.
Yeah.
The only thing. Yeah.
You're lucky. I've known her for like 4 years.
And then going over like, so when you did like that weather report today, I like the photos of like talking about that stuff, you know, and like
Sure.
explaining like the troughs and stuff they go through. I love to do that.
Sure, yeah. To be clear, like the best place to do that is where I went. I just look at the forecast discussion. I read what they're saying and then I look for it in the maps and then I just show you the maps. That's literally what I did today. Is they said, oh, there's gonna be a trough moving through on Sunday. And so I looked at the maps and sure enough, on Sunday or early Monday, here's a trough, you know?
That's wind, right?
What?
That's wind.
Yes, this is wind velocity. So big old jet stream here.
We have like a homework night sometime where it's just like
Study night.
Yes, that's-
Love that.
that's another
Like,
thing.
Peter.
That's another thing we did last semester was when I didn't know what to do for club, we had a study session. So we can do that as well.
I would enjoy that very much.
Cool.
I want another pizza time, like pizza.
You can do that. We can do that. for sure.
Like,
Since it'll be cold in the beginning
Oh,
of next semester, we do
yeah.
hot chocolate.
Yeah, it was study time too, we have to.
Yeah, like a hot chocolate study day.
Sure, we can do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. Okay. I'm glad for this.
Look at you guys.
I have a controversial question. Do you like your hot cocoa with milk or water?
No.
What do you expect us for? Jesus, you give someone hot chocolate with water, that's attempted murder.
That's my dad.
I'll drink it. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a great idea.
Oh, guys, our president likes hot chocolate with water. I
He
said
said no. He said no.
Hey, I nominate myself for outreach chair.
Okay. I'll mark you down.
You didn't answer my question, am I devoted to Discord now?
We'll see. Depending on how it goes, we might restructure how the admin roles work on Discord, but we'll see.
Because it's keyboard now, because we didn't have anybody in shared rooms for hands.
I feel like it's easiest just to have the admin role tied to the keyboard roles, but again, we can hash that out. It's not a big deal. Is there anything else that you guys want to discuss or any questions you have? Go ahead.
I actually do have something that I want to bring up. Okay, yeah, so, I talked this over with you and Anthony, but I'm gonna bring it up to everyone now that I'm actually starting to get years running on it. I'm doing up some sketches for shirts that we could make for the club.
Sure.
And, I just want to know, like, obviously I have my own ideas, but I also want to get some stuff from other people about like, what do you think should be on a shirt for this club?
What is it now? What do you have like in the works now?
Right now, I have like I mean, I'm still concepting. I have a rough draft of like a radar sort of circle, you know what it is? And then I have like signatures that spell out SWC. And like it's in the stage of art where it looks poopy, it's a poopy face, but
Right.
eventually it'll look better, you know?
Yeah.
But like, what else would you want to see, do you think would be good for a shirt for our club?
I like the radar, I mean, yeah, you're going with the radar thing.
We did
I that was actually my second idea, to be honest.
we did a radar shirt for the year Dr. Bucher was let go. He had
That's how you remember that year?
well, that's the reason is because he was nicknamed the Macomb Dome, because whenever he was in town, no severe storms ever like reached Macomb. And so the shirt idea was, it was a radar centered around Macomb, but instead of Macomb, it was Dr. Bucher's head. And then the radar showed like a big old squall line heading through, but then it broke up into two supercells that went around Macomb and then reformed after Macomb. That was the joke. That was a good shirt design. If it would help you, maybe I could show you old club shirt designs,
Yeah.
just to give you an idea what was in the past.
My dad shares with me a story when he did a political ad for my grandfather when he was my age. It just ended up not making sense at all. So I want to avoid that at all costs.
Let me go.
Yes.
I'll probably lose again.
So please, if you have any ideas on like things that should keep on a shirt for us, just message me, because like, I'm working in Illustrator for God's sakes, it takes 5 minutes. to
You
fix
know,
it.
what's really cool,
What?
is like, I mean, we can't do it in like spring or anything because of COVID, but usually I guess like, sometimes the department or whatever will have, what are they called? Where you, like, it was something in Texas, and then there's something in, like, the conferences. And I thought it'd be so cool if sometimes like one of the shirts was like, kind of, you know, maybe like if you went somewhere like Florida or something, I'd like to do something for people.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I don't know.
Like that, but like, we're not.
The big issue with that is trying to coordinate a club event where we go to a conference, which would be hard for a number of reasons. We could do it, but
Which is what?
like getting people to agree to go to a conference in Texas, it might be difficult.
I mean, if it's.
Not impossible though.
If it's free. we can do it.
Exactly.
And that is what, I mean, I'll teach for sure.
Also,
Is she referring to AMS?
And something else too, but yeah, there's two, wasn't there? Cause there's one.
Yeah, well, AMS, if we go next year, we always used to enter the poster competition. But we haven't went to AMS in a few years. So that poster out there on the 4th floor, one of them, we typically win an award with our posters. Like we get like, I don't know, top 5 typically. But that's something that we would have to do next year if we went to AMS, would be to make that poster. I think you take the poster to AMS. I'm not sure, because I've never been a part of it, but it's something with AMS student chapters and posters and winning awards. But I don't know the whole logistics behind that. Dr. Finch would know more than I would. But I know in the past we have won multiple awards with our posters. But yeah, so maybe next year, I guess. It's in Denver next year.
Yeah. This is a really good discussion, guys. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? If not, then I guess we can call it here.
I was just gonna add a few more things for next semester. We'll have
Okay.
spotter trainings, whether they be virtual or non-virtual. If it's non-virtual, there will be one in Macomb out at the 4-H center. But if they are virtual, then you'll just have to do it online, which isn't too bad to do. But we'll have more weather training talks next semester about different weather parameters, things of that nature. But yeah, so that's something to look forward to for next semester. And then it's also spring. So spring means storms, which are pretty fun. But yeah, I guess that's all I really wanted to add.
All right. Yeah, if there's nothing else you guys want to talk about, then we'll call it here. Thanks so much for coming. And be sure to come by for the last meeting next week where we can finish up elections and we'll just like hang out and chill and play games. So.